Finally, the virtual power shop is here, guys. Are you feeling stuck, insecure, or maybe second guessing some choices in life? Visit thevirtualpowershop.com to enroll in your 22 module course. It's self-paced and available on your terms. What's your well-being worth? Act now for a limited time offer. It's half off the regular $299 price. Your personalized journey is available for only $149. Step into a brighter, empowered future. Thevirtualpowershop.com. Get unstuck. I'm Alma Lee. I'm a psychotherapist and transformative lifestyle resiliency coach and author, and I want to help you reach your goals by teaching you how to step outside of those fear-based mindsets and into your powerful, loving self. Let's get started. I gotta say, I really enjoyed recording last week's episode. So you think you're at rock bottom, or do you know what rock bottom is? And if you don't, well, consider yourself pretty fortunate. In that episode, I had mentioned the topic of the weight of anger. And my good friend Rebecca, shout out to Rebecca, she had mentioned that she thought it would be a good topic to discuss. And I've thought about it in passing in creating an episode about anger. And funny enough, I'm actually here in my hometown, and it's like full circle. Life is so funny. It's a full circle experiment, and it's appropriate that I talk about anger right now because I don't get angry very often these days. I'm very grateful for that. I'm extremely grateful. If you listen to last week's episode where I'm discussing the concept of rock bottom and my tearfulness in that episode, I was being as transparent. I mean, I'm just being me. I'm just being Alma. But in that episode, my gratitude had really come to the surface when I was discussing how grateful I am today living the life that I get to live and do the work that I get to do in comparison to my experiences with being at rock bottom. And that ties into to today's episode about the weight of your anger. And let's talk about it. Rebecca had mentioned that she thought it would be a great topic, and I've been kicking it around this week. And so here's how I want to sort of lay this one out. I want to detail just three signs that you may be having an issue with anger. And I got to say, most of us, we know if we're having a problem with anger, but we don't really have any type of metric to use to measure that, to make a determination on what is or is not a problem, right? So I want to detail 3 ways to identify that you may be struggling with some anger. And if you are, I highly recommend that you speak to someone. And it doesn't always have to be a professional therapist. It can be a mentor. It can be a good friend. It can be a clergyman, an educator, professional. But if you have the means to see a professionally trained mental health person, I highly recommend that. There's no replacing going to therapy. You know me. I'm always going to beat that drum. But before I get into the three identifiers, these 3 signs that you may be having a real problem with anger, let's talk about some of the features. And I'm here in my hometown. I have gratitude. I have memories. I have memories of my own explosive, angry outbursts. And that childhood experiences, feeling out of control, feeling disempowered, feeling worthless, wondering what was the point of my life at times, and struggling to make heads or tails, often resulted in fits of anger. And I didn't really know where it was coming from, especially as a child. I think that holds true for a lot of people, is that when you have these blowouts, when you have these angry outbursts, well, that goes back to the summation of only two emotions. There's only two emotions. And that's fear and love. Well, when you consider what anger is, what do you think anger is? I know it's like, Alma, anger isn't fear. It's not fear. It's anger. No, I get that. I understand that. But hear me out. Anger is the result of fear, if you think about it. So I can go back into my childhood and I can think about different episodes where I became very angry. And then I also started to shut down. Now let's talk about that too, because anger often gets us in trouble. Anger causes problems in our life. Anger is not socially acceptable in most cases, if you think about it. So when we lose control because of our anger, then we don't want to do that because it's got, implications. There's consequences to that. So what we often do is we repress that. Now that's definitely what I did, or at least what I tried to do until I had an outburst. But I was angry for most of my young adult life. Most of my childhood and my early adult years, I was an extremely angry person. I can share that with you because I can see it clearly. I've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of healing. And I think that's my job, is to share that with you and to give you sort of a testimony, if you will, over, not only is there a professionally trained therapist admitting that they have had an anger issue, but that they've worked through it. And you can too. There's nothing really any different than what I've done in my life that you can do in yours. But anger is the result of fear. And I can remember being very fearful as a child. A lot of that fear was because I didn't believe that I was lovable. I didn't believe that I was worthy. I didn't think that anybody would ever care about me. And that created an enormous amount of fear for me. And then obviously as life goes on and as I work with people and as I was a police officer in the military, I started recognizing, hey, I'm not the only pissed off person. There's other people out here that are pissed off too. Holy cow, I'm not alone. And I started seeing comparisons with the way other people were sort of moving through life. And as that culminated in me doing my work, especially my healing work, I started making the connection between my depressive episodes and my anger. So if you think about it, if you have fear that culminates in anger or rage, and then socially speaking, that anger is not something that is going to be conducive for you in life, so you repress it, it has to be expressed somehow. And most often it comes out in the form of toxicity, mental health conditions, depression, anxiety, or a combination. So ask yourself, at the root of all of our mental health conditions, it's usually fear. If you peel back those layers, if you peel back the things that we've experienced in life that have pissed us off, that have made us so angry, the unfair experiences, the disempowerment, the trauma, the manipulation, the lies, the betrayal, all of it, feeling completely and totally out of control of anything in your life because you trusted somebody maybe and then they lied to you about something. You wasted time with people or a job or a situation or a condition, or overall life in and of itself just seems grossly unfair compared to other people. When you see other people experiencing life on different terms and having different conditions that they're experiencing that you perceive to be better than yours, it can create an enormous amount of anger. But at the root of it, it's fear. And then you might be saying, well, Alma, if it's fear, then how do you what's a therapist going to help with that? Well, a therapist is going to help you understand your fear. When you understand, when you have knowledge and clarity, that's half the battle right there. Most of it goes away with the clarity of understanding yourself better. And maybe we can get into that in a different episode. Are you pissed off? Are you an angry person? When's the last time you had a blowout? Have you ever done something in anger that you regretted? Yeah, I have too. You see how all of these situations connect, because you get pissed off, you yell at a loved one, it breaks down your relationship. You lose the things that you really care about, which magnify the fear that started the anger to begin with. So it cycles through in a negative, toxic sort of way, leaving you feeling even more disempowered. But I'm here to tell you that there is, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, my friend. There totally is. Totally. We feel like men and women alike. This is not just for men and women both. We feel we feel hurt and fearful when we're out of control in any condition, in any life scenario. And that can breed anger. That can breed a lot of fear that because of the disempowerment of fear in and of itself, you're not supposed to be afraid. So then let's just get pissed off, because that's at least a little bit more in control. To be angry. If I yell at somebody in anger because I'm emotionally dysregulated and I start screaming at somebody, then I'm trying to force them to change their behavior in order for me to feel safe. If you can break it down like that too. So does any of this, is this clicking? Is this connecting for you? I'm interested in your feedback. But yeah, I'm sitting here in my hometown, and I'm deeply grateful that I'm not pissed. I don't have any connection to anger any longer. It's resolved. I have memories for sure. The memories stay, of course. I remember hurtful experiences and traumas, neglect and abandonment, fear. I remember it. But it doesn't hold me hostage any longer, and it certainly doesn't trigger an angry response, which is why I think I have the opportunity to share this with you. So, three factors. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about 3 different conditions that might be indicators that it's time for you to get some help with your anger, right? Number 1, frequent explosive outbursts. When was the last time you popped your top? Or better yet, do you work with somebody that you kind of, they're kind of like, they're always bubbling. They're always ready to go. That one person that you don't want to rock the boat too much with that person. Yeah. When was the last time you blew up? And what was the reason? Ask yourself that, because that can be a bigger indication of what your fears are, is whatever is triggering your angry outbursts is touching on your fear. How long ago was it? Do you remember? I remember mine. It's interesting too, when you think about your last angry outburst, do you have shame attached to it? Are you ashamed of yourself? If you are, that's a good thing, because it says that you have a conscience and that you have remorse over your behavior, that you're not proud of it, that you actually care, So that's a good thing if you feel bad. And I do. And I also forgive myself as well, because all humans are fallible, as are you. But what was it? What triggered you into rage last time? And how long ago? And how often is it? So that's number 1. Frequent, explosive, angry outbursts. Number 2, physical symptoms. We can have physical manifestations of anger in our body. Our health will reflect anger, especially if it's repressed anger. If we're not communicating it, if we're not having frequent angry outbursts, but maybe we have high blood pressure, right? Palpitations, heart rate, racing heart when you get, angry, but yet maybe you're not vocalizing. Maybe you're not a vocal person. Have you thought about that? You clench your fists, or your jaw, tense muscles. You feel hot and flushed. That could be an indication that your anger is out of control. Has that ever happened to you? And if so, how long ago? Number 3, obviously this is a key point here, is negative impact on your relationships and your daily life. So if you're having angry outbursts, if you're screaming, yelling, especially if you're screaming and yelling and you're being disrespectful to other people and the environment that you're in, that's a problem. That's an indicator. Now, I think we all, as humans, have gotten really, really pissed off once or twice in our lives. But then there's those people that are constantly blowing up. Is that you? Now, keep in mind, my intention is never to shame. It's an observation. It's not a judgment. This is not intended to make you feel bad about yourself. This is intended to help you move out of a fear-based mindset and into a love-based mindset. That's the whole intention behind this entire podcast platform. It's flipping from fear into love. And understanding and being aware and self-aware, understanding your anger, understanding where it's coming from, and especially understanding if it's a problem in your life, and actively engaging in trying to work through that. And keep in mind, a lot of times people hesitate to get the help that they need because of the shame attached to it and more fear. Fear that, oh God, if I go see a therapist, if I go talk to somebody about my anger, then I'm admitting fault. 2, I'm even more ashamed because I'm not, in control. So if I ask somebody to help me with my anger, then I have, through my actions, admitted fault. Oh my God, how terrible is that? A lot of people would just rather keep it under radar, keep it under wraps, keep doing everything the same way, and avoid the accountability of it all. There's a lot of people that go through their entire lives and avoid accountability of all of the damage that they've caused through their anger. That's no way to live. And you shouldn't be tolerating it either if you're living with someone like that, or if you're working with or for someone like that. It's unacceptable. Having someone around you constantly blowing up because they are unable or unwilling to get help in controlling their anger, it's just unacceptable. Nobody needs to live like that. And that person that's angry doesn't need to live like that either. So, and as someone, I'm not sitting here and saying that I don't ever get pissed off. But one thing I can say is that I never allow my anger to control me. I get angry. Of course I do. I'm a human. But I never have blow-ups anymore. Honestly, if I feel like I'm in a situation or a condition that's causing me to feel elevated, triggered, I leave it. I don't care where I'm at. I don't care what I'm doing. If I feel reactive, if I feel that my anger is coming to the surface, I am in a committed relationship with myself. That's one thing for sure that I know. And this is one thing that I share with anybody that sits and listens with me, is I make a concerted effort to do what I need to do in order to keep myself taken care of, to fill my cup. And that includes removing myself from conditions or people that are triggering me, especially if that person wants me to be dysregulated. If that person is either through their intentional actions or just they're flippant, or maybe they're just ignorant and they're triggering me through their actions, I leave it alone. If it's causing me to have an emotional response to them that's adverse or negative, angry, I don't mess with it. That's part of the commitment that I have to myself. It's all been sort of grouped into this healing journey that I've been on over the years. And I encourage you to do the same thing too. Life is too beautiful and wonderful, and there's too many opportunities for joy and insight to be wasted on being angry and then being, repressing that anger. Because if you don't get it out, if you don't acknowledge that you're angry, it's just going to stay there. It's going to be triggered. It's going to control you. It's going to turn you into a puppet, if not already. Somebody cuts you off in traffic and you lose your mind. Nobody wants to be around that person. I wouldn't, Nobody wants to be around someone that's easily controlled and manipulated by just pushing their buttons and getting them to light up, to be dysregulated. There's an episode that I did a while back on dysregulation. Who's benefiting from your dysregulation? There are people out there that will intentionally try to piss you off because you're easy to control and manipulate when you're angry. And you don't want to be like that either. And it's important too to understand it's all fear. And then when you understand the fear is when you understand the pain that's attached to the fear, the trauma that needs to be worked through. You get to process through your anger, and then you're not like this, unlit match that any friction rubs up against you and sets you off. Nobody wants to live like that. Life is just too great. Life is too wonderful. There's too much abundance. There's too much opportunity. There's too much gratitude. It's beautiful. You deserve to enjoy it. You deserve to heal. You deserve to live a life where you're not pissed off all the time. Don't you think? So take some time and consider if it's a problem for you. There's no judgment. You might feel judged. There's no judgment. It's important. It's important to address it. Or maybe you can share this episode with somebody that you think has an anger issue, knowing full well that when you send it to them, they're going to get pissed off. That's not the intention behind it. But hey, if the shoe fits, do what you will. We're all trying to move through this life the best way we can, right? I think it's a better way to move through this life when you're not angry all the time. At least I think so. All right. This has been a Lee Bird Media production. Don't forget to like, share, follow, and subscribe. Thanks for listening.